news, those that happened, some maybe even before you were born. But of course, we are giving you some of those moments, and of course, first the highlights of the previous games that happened over the weekend. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra. I'm Robert Chirabo, in case you've just joined. Now, this is an extension of our morning show, which is Good Morning Uganda, that starts all the way from 6:30. We are here to ensure we kickstart your morning and we flow all the way to 10. Thank you so much for being with us and making us a TV of your choice. Of course, you're the official broadcaster of the World Cup, but also we thank you that you have made it a routine, part of your lifestyle, to always watch UBC TV. We don't take that for granted. We appreciate and please keep it with us. Now, this morning, I have a very interesting topic. Why am I saying so? Because I've seen some places have begun effecting what you're going to be discussing. I've seen many Ugandans losing out. One of them are courts of law. Now, if you may recall very well, His Excellency's last address regarding Ebola and, of course, COVID-19 and a few issues, he came out with guidelines. And he said, you must be vaccinated, not only getting the 2 shots, but also a booster dose. You must have a certificate that is up to date with the vaccination calendar or what is required of you to be safe. He said, we don't want to have a resurgence of COVID-19, and we must protect that everyone is vaccinated, because when you're vaccinated, much as you acquire the disease, because vaccination will not stop you, but you don't deteriorate. An example is measles. This was killing people in Uganda. But now kids that are vaccinated, you may have the red eyes, red lips, but the kid is playing around, enjoying life. Not those days where the village would shrink and mourn home to home. So with COVID-19, that is what we are looking at. Now, joining me on set this morning is the spokesperson of the Ministry of Health, Emmanuel Ainebiona. Emma, you're most welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers.
How is work at the ministry? You guys, Ebola, now again you bring vaccinations. We hear now 1,200 plus Ebola trial vaccines. How is work?
Work is busy, but what I can say we are handling as the Ministry of Health, we are now on a countdown of 42 days to see an end to the Ebola outbreak. We have not had cases now for about 2 weeks. And if it clocks 10th January and we have not had any new case of Ebola, then on the 11th, we will be declared Ebola-free, 11th of January. So we hope that Ugandans will remain vigilant. Our health workers will continue with surveillance to ensure that, and also risk communication, to ensure that we emerge out of this festive season without any new Ebola cases, to enable us to be declared free of Ebola on 11th January 2023. On the issue of the COVID-19, which has also we've been also grappling with, but I think Uganda is among the countries that have done well in containing the COVID-19 pandemic. Much as we are still testing some people and they emerge positive, we have no admissions, meaning that people, the ones that test positive are not severe to require any admission. Since October, we've not had any death, but on a weekly basis, we have over 60 COVID cases. Our positivity rate is still ranging between 0.8 to 1, so it's not so alarming, but we've seen elsewhere in other countries, in Asia, there's a surge, and also even in Europe and the Americas, there's a surge of cases triggered by new variants. So we have to continue following the standard operating procedures And also the most important thing is get up to date with our vaccination status. If you have not taken the vaccines are available at all our health facilities across the country. Reach there, get your first shot. Those ones who have not taken their second shot, take your second shot. If you took your booster and 6 months have passed, you need to take another booster as a way of protecting your body or preparing your body for any eventual infection. So, and that's why the president gave a directive that the Ministry of Health should ensure that vaccination is happening across the country, of which vaccines have been made available. We are expecting doses of Pfizer to also enable the vaccination of children who are between 12 and 17. So also that will be happening. So if you have a child in that bracket, as soon as we communicate that these Pfizer vaccines are available, you need to take your child for vaccination. So in simpler terms, let's get up to date with our vaccination status. Some entities have already started enforcing the vaccine mandates. So you don't want to be denied a service because you have not.
I saw it at one of the courts.
You have not gotten up to date your certificate. People who travel, if you're vaccinated and you have your certificate, you don't have the burden to take a PCR. But even people who are not comfortable or who feel like they have no time to get vaccinated, so they will be required to regularly test for COVID. That means they will always ask you for a valid PCR certificate, which is about 72 days. So how many more times can you take a PCR? So the best way is to ensure that you get vaccinated.
Well, now, Emma, to the Ugandan watching us right now, they would, much as you've explained all that, they would, at the back of their minds, ask this question. At such a particular point of time, why would it be necessary for someone to have the first, the second, and a booster? Some who have had 2 shots would say, now, why would I go for a booster?
I think, Chirabo,
we do not have admissions.
If you've had, you don't have to wait to fall sick. And our main approach is health prevention, health promotion, and disease prevention. So if we have now an alternative of ensuring that you prevent, and the preventing channel is vaccination, we are acting before there is a surge. Because already the statistics with 4 of some neighbors show that the cases are increasing. So the best way is to prevent before you're faced with a challenge that can result into another disruption of economic activity. So vaccination is one way to keep our economy open without any further disruption. And we do not anticipate any. Yes.
Well, you've said we do not anticipate any. Now, let's look at availability of drugs. Because we rightly know that some people may want to get vaccinated, but where to access these drugs remains a challenge, either by ignorance and not knowing. I say, now where do I go for a booster dose? You having mass vaccination. There was a time you had these mass vaccinations at the taxi park, at Korolo, at schools. How is it this time running since His Excellency made the directive?
Yes, the luxury of making vaccines in outreaches is normal because we have adopted it into routine vaccination. Like you take your child for a shot of polio. The health facilities now have the COVID vaccination within the routine vaccination. So if you reach out to any health center 3 and you go to the vaccination section, you'll be able to get vaccinated. We have also placed vaccines in some private facilities. There's a center in Ntinda called Vaccine Access Initiative. All those will avail you an opportunity to get vaccinated. Yes, because even vaccination, having those campaigns, they require resources, of which resources are not available. But we can use our already established healthcare system and immunization system to ensure that all Ugandans who need to get boosted, who need to get vaccinated, access the vaccines. Currently, we have Sinovac, we have Sinopharm, we have Johnson & Johnson. So all these vaccines are available at the health facilities.
Now also, what percentage of Uganda's population, those eligible for vaccination, has been vaccinated so far?
About 41% have been vaccinated, at least with the first shot. And also, we are now targeting a total of about 27 million. Those ones who need boosters, those ones who need to get updated with their status, those ones who need to take shot number 2, including also the children between 12. So we are looking at a figure of 27 million people to get vaccinated. And also we are making all efforts to ensure that vaccines are very available and accessible. Yes.
Well, once you always know, and I know at least anyone, once in your lifetime you've heard of this, prevention is better than cure. You rather prevent yourself from acquiring COVID and you deteriorate to the worst, leading into death by getting that jab. But Emma, one would wonder, why are you know, there is this passion that government is putting into this, so much desire that people get vaccinated.
The government wants to protect its people. And because vaccination is one way to protect the people.
Please speak now, you're speaking to a layman who is watching us, who is having all theories about this new campaign of vaccination.
I think maybe I need to take you back. The first and foremost, the only weapon that we had against COVID was following SOPs, washing hands, putting on masks, social distancing. And that was the message we were preaching at the time, around 2020, around 2021. When the vaccines were made available, that became, you remember when even opening of the economy was hinged around vaccination. So vaccination has worked. And that's why we have been, because the number of Ugandans have gotten at least a single shot, and there is some level of vaccine-derived immunity. So that's why also the economy has been able to thrive without any fear. You know, now the fear of a lockdown was around now Ebola, not COVID. So to avoid any situation like disruption of the economy, let's get vaccinated. Because when you're vaccinated, you have protected each other. No one will be spreading the disease. Because if all people that are eligible are vaccinated, then you've created a ring. So that's why we want to have that immunity that is vaccine derived sustained. And that's why we are saying if you're vulnerable, 6 months have passed, you need to boost again your immunity. The ability of the body to fight.
Now that brings me to a quick one. Who qualifies or who needs this booster dose? Be more specific. Because
all those 18 years and above.
Okay.
Including yourself, Chirao. If 6 months have passed since your last vaccine, you need to go for a booster shot. And those ones who need their certificates, because now that entities will start or have already started, you need to access your vaccination certificate. If you've taken your 2 shots, you have taken your booster, the vaccination certificates, once your data has already been entered by the center where you took your vaccine, you'll be able to self-service yourself. You go to our portal, which is the epivac.health.go.ug. You'll be able to download your vaccination certificate. But even though you have not been able to self-service yourself, you can now reach out through our toll-free line if you have challenges, which is 0800 100 066. If you have any challenges to access your vaccination certificate. But even guard your vaccination card jealously, because failure to have a vaccination certificate, you can alternatively use your vaccination card. But the reason why we want people to have vaccination certificate is that cards are easily forged, while certificates are hard to forge. And if we are verifying, working with NITA-U, we can be able to use this kind of smartphone to scan the QR code on your vaccination certificate, which will show details of which vaccine you took and when. So we will be able to know who is up to date with their vaccination status and who are those that need to be vaccinated. But also NITA-U is working on use of these ordinary phones. You send a message using either your NIN, your phone number, and it is able to bring your details of vaccination for a person down there who has no access to the smartphone. So all these are mechanisms of ensuring that we validate your vaccination status and also enable you move around, because the president has issued a directive. So it is upon everyone to ensure that they use this time to access, because transport will be hindered on vaccination. So you might be jeering to go to the festive season and you are unable to go because you are not vaccinated.
And so wake up one day and say serious enforcement.
Yeah, people who do international travel can attest to you that vaccination will save you, because every airport in this world, they ask the vaccination certificate more even than they are interested in your passport. Yes.
Well, you're still watching UBC TV. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra. I'm with the spokesperson, that is of Ministry of Health, Emmanuel Ainebiona. Now, away from the vaccination certificate, and of course, updating your vaccination schedule, that is the first, the second, and a booster. If 6 months have expired, you need to go and get a booster. Recently, we saw doses, trial vaccines for Ebola arrive in the country.
Yes.
Now, Emma, I was watching UBC TV there. I'm like, we're registering success in the fight against this. We will need people who are going to work as trials. Now, how is this going to happen? Because one time I was told some places have even closed isolation centers. And I'm told, but I stand to be corrected, that you need to have people either who have been contacts, so that these are the people you can begin with for this trial. Let's discuss this as well.
Thank you. Last week, to be specific, I think on Thursday, we received 1,200 candidate vaccines for the Ebola Sudan, which is responsible for this current outbreak. The outbreak is still ongoing. As I have told you, we have 42 days of ensuring that we find any case that would have missed before we declare an end to the outbreak.
So there's serious combing now?
So there is serious combing. So the vaccine protocol had been designed that we use it on contacts of confirmed cases. But most of our now contacts are completing their 21 days. So, but that doesn't mean that this trial won't happen. So the scientists, the principal investigators, and the co-investigators are working on other mechanisms they can make the eligibility to this vaccine. But as we talk, the initial design is still valid because we have not come out of the woods. So until 42 days, then they can talk of another criteria for eligibility. But still now, the initial criteria is vaccinating voluntarily those ones who are contacts to confirmed cases.
Now we have 1,200 trial vaccines.
Yes.
One of the things, this is voluntary.
Yes.
Someone chooses to or not to.
Yes.
Now, science, things are also complicated. We know they are trial, but how safe are they?
Of course, there have already been initial phases of which they have passed safety measures. Now what we are looking is efficaciousness or effectiveness against this Ebola Sudan. Because the Ebola Sudan that is responsible for the current Ebola outbreak has not had a vaccine, unlike the Ebola Zaire strain, which had a vaccine, and we've been able to vaccinate health workers around the most at-risk places. Even our soldiers in the armed forces who were involved in the Shujaa operations were able to get vaccinated with that Ebola Zaire vaccine. So the essence why we are using this opportunity is to see that also the Ebola Sudan strain has a vaccine. And that's why now we are going to check whether indeed, if you take this vaccine that has been availed to us by the Sabin Vaccine Institute, to see whether it can protect you against the Ebola Sudan. And that is an addition to science. So Uganda is now in the limelight of science in terms of scientific research. All eyes, all media houses. I don't know whether you had an opportunity to see the journalists that were interested. Almost media outlets across the world, because this is a moment of scientific advance.
So we have the specimen are here.
Because you see, these vaccines can only be tried when there is an outbreak. So if there is no outbreak,
you can't try them because you don't know if they're effective or not.
So Uganda has presented that opportunity to advance this mechanism of prevention using vaccines, and that benefits the entire world.
But then at such a time, do you think it's the right timing when you're almost out of?
That's why I'm telling you, it is, we are if we had been declared, that would be another story. And as I said, the scientists can also design another criteria of eligibility and target another group of people. But for now, the main purpose is better have than not have. And we are glad that these vaccines are now in country.
Now, Emma, when is this likely to start? The administering of these vaccines to the volunteers, and of course then we can, as
I said, anytime, because anytime a case can pop up, a case has contacts. So that's why I'm telling you, we are now doing mopping and combing, active surveillance, risk communication, to ensure that in case there is any case that is still there, we get it until 10th. Yeah, but also we still have contacts that are under follow-up from the previous confirmed cases. So it is up to the team of scientists that are behind this Tokomesa Ebola vaccine trial to give us information based on what they have discussed. Yes.
Well, so much is happening from the Ministry of Health, World Health Organization here in Uganda, and of course the entire health fraternity. More so now, today we've been looking at issues regarding vaccines, why you should have an up-to-date vaccination certificate of COVID-19, and of course a snap into the 1,200 doses that are trial vaccines for Ebola, that is Sudan variant, arrived in the country, and how that is going to go. But Emma, I have to let you go, because programming has to continue. I know there's so much that is on the lineup for our viewers, but let me have your parting shot.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. As we head into the festive season, I call upon you, all Ugandans, to remain vigilant. There are other conditions beyond Ebola and COVID that can be responsible for our illnesses or admission into the hospital. So if you're traveling up country, ensure the first thing is to be safe on the road. The safety belt, and also ensuring that you drive as per the set limits. That is avoiding getting into accidents. The second thing is that you need to, if you're traveling out of the urban setting and you're going to mosquito-prone areas, you need to have and effectively use your mosquito net to prevent yourself from malaria. Because also we have seen, much as we had Ebola, we have had an upsurge of malaria in almost across the country. And currently we have teams who are doing house-to-house mass drug administration as a way of preventing, giving people anti-malarials to protect them from malaria. We also expect you to do the basics, like boiling water, drinking boiled water to avoid diarrheal diseases. Continue with the standard operating procedures for COVID and for Ebola, like hand washing. All those will ensure that you pass through this festive season safe and ready to serve in the new year 2023. My parting shot is that I wish all Ugandans happy holidays and a prosperous 2023.
Well, thank you so much, Emmanuel Ainebiona, Public Relations Officer, Ministry of Health. Thank you for your time. And of course, clarifying on a number of issues here. Well, have a lovely day. See you tomorrow, God willing. Stay safe. Remember, children are with us, so let's ensure we protect them. Much as we have to fend for these families, they should be our #1 priority. But as you do that, there's so much excitement. Avoid drunken driving, and above all, for the youth, there is life after whatever you're doing. Make sure you're safe, enjoy responsibly. Have a lovely day.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala,